Hello everybody and welcome. Thank you very much for joining me once again on the Chef Bicycle Live, which I believe is number 19 now. Oh goodness me, 19 of these things. So thank you very much for joining me once again on this. I hope you guys are okay and coping well. First thing, I think I wanted to say thank you to my brother for this. So it was my brother's idea who gave me the inspiration to try this dish out. He made it at home and in the more traditional way that it's being done. So I thought I would tweak it slightly and make it a little bit nicer, a little bit better hopefully. So yeah.
A bit more refined shape wise.
Yes, refinement, you know, just like me, refined. So overall, it's a relatively simple dish. Sesame and pork mille feuille. Now, mille feuille is a French name. Most people have had a mille feuille in the sense of them being a dessert, which is puff pastry layers filled with creme pâtissière and cream. Now, obviously, mille feuille just basically means 1,000 sheets or leaves or layers. So it can be sort of used in many different ways. And this is a mille feuille, but it's of cabbage and pork. I think pretty much all had one. Maybe I should have done that instead of this. Oh well, I'm doing this now, and that's fine. But the dish is fundamentally going to be pork and cabbage, which is a flavour combination that works anyway. But obviously we're going to add it and put these little blends of Japanese flavours, you know, lots of dashi and so on, which gives a good flavour of umami, which we love umami. Okay. Traditionally, you'd make this with sliced pork belly, not bacon or string, but strips of pork. Okay, and then that's pretty much going to be the sort of the dish we're going to do. If you haven't done already, get your sushi rice on. I've got mine already. You're going to need a food processor as well. Now, if you get yourself a saucepan of water on with some salt in, because we're going to need that to blanch the cabbage. Okay, but first thing we're going to do, we're going to make the filling. So
for the vegetarian, what would you put instead of the pork?
I think I said like a chickpeas could work quite well. Drained tin of chickpeas and washed would work because they need a bit of robustness. Obviously, you'd remove the katsuobushi and add a little bit more kombu. Okay. So with actually, no, we're not going to do the pork mince first. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make the dressing first because that needs to be cold. Okay, so into a saucepan, okay, we're going to add 50 mils of light soy sauce and 50 mils of mirin. It's going to go into the pot. We're going to add a tablespoon of brown sugar to that. Okay. We're going to add 180 mils of water. Okay, so that's 50 mirin, 50 light soy sauce, a tablespoon of light brown sugar or dark brown sugar, whichever one you have, and the 180 mils of water. Okay, to that I'm going to add a piece of kombu. If you have some kombu left from last week, that would be great. If you don't worry too much. I'm going to pop that in, and then a handful of katsuobushi. I couldn't get any, unfortunately, so I'm going to use a bonito powder instead. Okay, chuck one of those bad boys in there. And that's all into the pan together, and we're just going to basically put that onto the stove to boil. Okay, nice and simple. Okay, and once that comes to the heat, we're just going to put it into the fridge to cool down nice and simply.
Can you repeat it, please?
Yes, of course. So that, in there, you've got 50 mils of light soy sauce, 50 mils of mirin, 1 tablespoon of soft or dark brown sugar, 180 mils of water, a piece of kombu, and a handful of bonito flakes. If not, you can use the little dashi powders. One of those would be fine. And then that goes on to boil. Okay, beautiful. Yeah.
I was just going to say, you've got some comments.
Oh, splendid. Well,
So you've got from the Olio, whoop, who's excited? That's right, Ollie Low.
So for the filling, we're going to take the pork mince, put it into a food processor. Okay, pop it straight in the bin. Okay, and to that we're going to put 3 cloves of garlic, So I'm just peeled. You can crush them, slightly chop them, whatever you want to do. It's all going to get blended up anyway. That can go in the blender as well. Same with the garlic. Just going to chop that up as well. Nice and simply. Don't have to be anything really fancy, just nice. Into little pieces. Obviously, they're slightly smaller. Take less time to blend. So we're going to go into the food processor.
Your brother also did say, where did you get this idea for? Lol. He missed your introduction, I believe.
I got it from you, Chris. When you edit the video later on, you know, or in a couple of days' time, you'll see that at the beginning. 3 spring onions. We're going to chop them in as well. Just chop them up and chop them in. Okay. And then 2 chilies. I haven't got any chilies, so I'm just using a bit of chili powder, chili flakes today.
We have chilies in the freezer.
That's what I couldn't find. Okay. And then to that, I'm going to add about 30 grams, give or take. Don't have to be too precise, or half a tablespoon of black and white sesame seeds. Okay. I'm going to add a tablespoon of sesame oil. About that. Okay. Alright. Good shake of salt.
Maggie's a little lost. Could you go over what's gone into this filling?
So into the filling you've got pork mince, chilli, spring onions, garlic, ginger, sesame oil, sesame seeds, and salt and pepper. That's it so far.
And that's separate to the sauce that you put on.
Yeah, that's separate to the sauce. Okay, so that's the sauce is one thing. This is going to be the next thing. Okay, your sauce has just come to boil. It's just blended together. Oh, it smells good. It smells. This sauce we're going to use actually is the same one we made for the tempura. You know, when Ben Filan made a huge briquette. You know, this is the same one. So I really liked it, and when I tried this, I thought actually the rice is lovely, but it needs something. So I'm just I thought this would work quite well. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically just going to put this into the fridge.
It's both lots of sesame seeds, isn't it?
Yeah, I put both lots in. If you've only got one, that's fine. Okay. If your dressing, once it's come to the boil and simmered for a minute or so, just take it out, pop it in the fridge, and leave that to cool down. Okay. And the last ingredient for your mince. So in them here, just to remind you, you got the mince, you got the sesame seeds and oil, you got the garlic, the ginger, salt and pepper, spring onions, and now the last ingredient is corn flour. Okay, nice and simple in there. And basically we're just going to blend it all up. Okay, all blended up, nice and smooth, nice and easy. Lovely. It should look something like that.
And
Okay.
the vegetarian one would look similar?
Yeah, similar. Okay. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pop this into a container. I'll set this aside. Okay.
It smells lovely.
Yeah, it smells really nice. There we go. Lovely. Go over here now. So there we are. So hopefully, guys, your sauce, the first sauce we made, should be in the fridge now, cooling down. Beef mince is there. I'm just going to leave that to sit there for a minute.
Pork mince.
Oh yeah, pork mince. Oh.
What mince did he say?
Beef.
Oh.
Whoops. Okay, so what we're basically going to do now is we're going to blanch our cabbage leaves. We're going to make like this little parcels. and then we're going to poach them in a dashi. So if you guys haven't made your dashi stock already, or you've made it, basically you want to put it on to simmer. If you haven't, I'm going to use a litre of water and 2 little dashi powders, okay, in there. Obviously, if you're vegetarian, you wouldn't use this. You just do a simple dashi making just with kombu. But you can add other vegetables if you want to it and make a proper veg stock. Okay, so that's going to come along. And season up with salt and pepper. Okay. Forego this frying pan. I don't need it. Okay, so cabbage time. Nice and simple this. So what we're going to want, we just want sort of a few of the outside leaves. Now, if you're able to get a pointed cabbage, great. If you weren't, it's no problem. Okay, you can use Savoy cabbage, but pointed I felt was best. If you haven't got that, you can use Chinese cabbage, which is lovely. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut the bottom of the root off a little bit, and it's just to give me a few more of these outside leaves. Okay, and this is basically going to layer up and layer up and layer up all of the little Mille Feuille that we're going to make. Okay. Okay. Don't matter too much if they rip or anything like that. That's absolutely fine.
It's surprising how big the leaves are when you pull them off.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Definitely one of our 5 days.
Right. As far as I'm going to go now with that. So what I'm going to do now is, obviously you've got a little rooty root bit right in the centre. We don't want that, so we're just going to cut that either side. Okay, so you're kind of left with these little half leaves, alright? I'm going to take them out. And the reason we're going to take these out is because they're quite thick. And because we're not going to cook these for very long, they're going to just, what we call blanch, into the boiling water. This is going to take a lot longer to cook, so we just take it out and it saves this problem entirely. Okay, and basically, and this in turn is going to make you slightly more layers, so only filling one leaf. Okay, and then we're going to want when we blanch these, just going to want a bowl of cold water, or if you've got it and you feel fancy, you can use ice. We're just going to cool these down so that it stops the cooking process. So that way they don't overcook, but also mainly you don't want it to be hot when you put the pork mince and layer it. Okay, so you should have roughly about that much. Okay, if you've got any more, great. If not, don't worry too much. It's all a learning curve. So what we're going to do now, so I'm going to take these, I'm going to chuck them straight into my water, which should be boiling, which it is boiling for me. Okay. To use a pair of tongs, just put them in the water like so. I'm just going to cook them for about a minute, 50 seconds, something like that. You get a bowl with some cold water in it.
Dan and Helena are asking if they use the outer floppy leaves.
Yeah, yeah.
And Matty said you're going a little fast.
Am I?
Could you slow down?
I do apologise. This is a live cooking, not a cook-along. I would like to remind everyone of that. That's why I put this all on YouTube.
But people like to cook along with you.
I know they do. They're very. I think it's incredible that they cook as well as they do. Ah, my rice is finished.
How long do you put those leaves in?
For about 30 seconds, 40 seconds, just so they're wilted. Okay. I'm going to check on my rice and give it a little stir.
I think the problem today is there's 3 different elements you're making.
Yeah, yeah. Right. They just want to be just slightly floppier, so they're a bit more malleable. Okay, see mine, they're just cooked like so. You're going to cook these again in a minute anyway. Just going to drain and take any excess water off. Put them into the cold water, like so.
Does the cabbage go in the stock or the normal water?
In normal water. The stock is going to be what we're going to cook the actual mille feuille itself with. Okay, so we're going to cook that into normal water. Okay. Now comes the fun bit. So just to make sure, guys, so your dressing should be in the fridge now, getting cool. You've got a little pan for your dashi stock, and you're either just about to cook, or you've cooked your cabbage leaves. Should be at that, hopefully at that stage. Okay. Right.
You could talk about that idea that you had, or that we've spoken about before.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to.
You're good, I'm glad. my dear wife had this outrageous accusation, or idea, that maybe we should try doing a collab cook-along.
I don't think it was me, I think it was Chris.
I hate my brother sometimes. Fern, could you get me a tea towel, please? If you can reach them. Perfect. Thank you, Fern.
And why don't you want to cook with me?
Because you're a messy person. That will do. Thank you. Okay, so reason I've got a tea towel is I just want to pat these leaves dry slightly. So I'm just going to lay them out on here. Okay, just to pat them dry a little. Right.
Ben Philan says, I'm a clean cook.
Are you now?
I don't believe it.
no one does, Philan. I don't think you did. I bet your family member looked at you in disgust and concern just then. Okay, pat them dry. And it's just to take the excess water off. Same with this one.
Your brother would like Emily to be the chef and Simon the KP for the day. It would be a day too.
Well, you like me, Chris. I like you. I love you. Doesn't mean I have to like you. Okay.
You wouldn't be able to not get involved anyway. It would be like that time I made the ramen burgers.
Yeah, well, and I ended up finishing them.
Yeah, because you couldn't wait.
No, I am impatient a little
Peter
bit.
is asking why the gloves.
It's because I've got a really irritating bit of dry skin on my hands, and I want to keep it safe. So I've put some cream on my hands, and I've just put a little black gloves on to help me in that. I was hoping no one would ask, and I would hope no one would bring it up. My mother-in-law had to bring it up, so now I have to answer. Okay, so next what we're going to do, guys, so now that you've got hopefully your cabbage blanched and your minced pork all made. This is why you don't use gloves. Aha! Success. We're going to want some cling film. Okay? Okay, and what I'm going to do, so Emily can zoom in on that a bit, is I've just got it over my board, and I've got it right over like that, okay? And all I'm going to do, is I'm going to take the larger leaves first, and I'm going to put a layer on like that, okay? And then, with the pork, just going to spread it out with a spoon, all over that leaf. Really, really simply. And if you've got the mix right, you can see these little bits of green and black and white. And that's just what you want, okay? Salt and pepper, each layer, of course, seasoning. This cabbage is quite bland, as it is. Okay, press it down a little bit. Same again, and you're just going to continue the process a few times, okay? Try and get it as even as you possibly can. Okay, now if you see, you might have cabbage end, where the end by the root will be thicker. So what you can do is just alternate it every now and again, so you get a nice even layer. So you've got ones going the other way. Okay.
Somebody's chopped up my cabbage.
What, like shredded it?
No, but we've chopped up our cabbage.
Well, not like you kept the leaves, yeah? Because that's quite important. Otherwise, you can't make this very well. You just sort of wanted to take the outside leaves off and use the leaves and poach them off, like this. So you've got nice leaves like that. Okay.
Is there any way of rescuing the dish if you slice your cabbage? No?
You'd have to make little meatballs and poach it in the liquid. That would be a way of doing it. And then poach the cabbage separately and then just have it on the side. Would be a way of doing it. Okay, so I've got about 5-6 layers there. Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put this last bit of mince on the top. And then what I will do is, because this is quite wide, I'm going to just take it and cut it in half. Okay. Don't worry if it goes to the contour. I'm going to basically put that bit on top, like so. Okay, so you've got lots of little layers. You see there, cabbage and pork and cabbage and pork and cabbage and pork and cabbage and pork, okay?
Looks delicious.
Now this is what we do. This is what you do a lot in my kitchen at work. It's rolling this up in cling film, okay? You're going to roll it as neat as you can into a little sausage shape. Now the reason you put this here is what it does is, as you roll it, it creates a little bit of resistance and it tightly wraps it up, okay? And then you just pinch the edges and you've got a nice sausage, okay? Like so. Now, you know how I love to have things made in advance? If you wanted to do this, you could make these in advance and put them in the fridge, and it will, and they'll firm up and they'll be even easier to use, okay? And then if you want to, you could do the same, wrap it up in with tin foil as well after, just to keep the shape even more. That's what whenever we do things like braised shoulder and lamb at work, it's always what we do. We just roll it in cling film, get a nice round shape, and roll it in tin foil, just to secure its shape of it as well. Okay, so all I'm going to do now, I'm just going to keep going until I've used up all my cabbage leaves, or used up all my mince. Okay. That's a big leaf there.
That's probably the very outer one, isn't it? I don't think anyone likes the idea of me cooking with you either.
Why on earth did you say that, my love?
Because no one's answered.
It's probably best.
I'm insulted.
So keep going, keep layering it up, nice, simply.
How many layers?
Do as many as you want, really. You could do 6-7 leaves of cabbage, as long as there's one on the bottom and one on the top. That's all that really matters. Okay.
It's not going very well in the Flan household.
Why?
I don't know. Dan and Helena said that, so I think that's mum and dad.
Well, it wasn't that long ago and Philan had only just got the ingredients, so poor Philan. Okay, so again, I'm just going to cut that in half. You see you've got cabbage, pork, cabbage, pork, cabbage, pork. Okay. Same again with our cling film. Roll it over, nice and tight, as tight as you can.
Sydney says hers doesn't look as graceful as yours. Ben says he's lost everything.
Poor Philan.
Going back to me cooking, Maddie would like to see it, and so would Zita. But Ollie says Ezra will cook with you, Simon. It's his dying wish.
That's fine, I love Ezra. I'm not saying I'd choose Ezra over Emily. But
Yeah,
in this
you would.
case, yeah, I would actually. Oh, mate, man. Okay, so what we've got now, guys, is we've got basically our parcels. Now one's slightly bigger than the other. That's fine. So what you want to then do is with a nice sharp knife, okay. Oh, a bit of mince left for another day. Splendid. A bit more cabbage. Right, so depending on how many you're cooking for, you're going to cut this into however really sort of thick sized pieces as you want. Okay, if you've got the time, I'd put them in the fridge for half an hour or so to set up, just so they firm up and it's a bit nice. But I haven't got this time, so I'm just going to. Actually, I will use this knife. So I'm going to do. I'm going to cut them into 6. So to cut them into 6, we're going to into half. Okay, that's what you got right in the centre.
Manny wants to know if you do one per person of those.
I think with rice, I don't think it needs it. I think one of these is fine, and then I'll cut each half into 3.
If you were going carb free, you could have one each, couldn't you?
Yeah. Why would you go carb free?
Some people do.
Okay. Now notice I'm not taking the cling film off. Okay, that's really important. Okay. Now, when I was doing a little bit of research into this, what they would usually do is they would put it into like a cast iron pot or a clay pot, and they would roll it round and round and round and round and round and round, and round all the way round into this pot and cook it with dashi and serve it on the table. So I'm doing that.
Maddie says that it's the beer family who we're talking about.
This is true.
And Dan and Helena said we might have to use microwave rice. Microwave rice.
Okay, so now guys, what we're going to do is I'm going to just cut the. So here, I'm basically going to put these very carefully into the pan.
So, cling film and all.
Yeah, keep the cling film on. Okay, and this is really important. Now, cling film, what will happen is when it hits the water, it will just slightly shrink, and that's what you want. So just hold everything together. If you just put this in there, it will just go everywhere. Okay, so cling film and all in there, and just gently place them into the broth. Okay, I'll move it closer. Okay, and just pop them straight away in the broth. Cling film and all, okay, and I'm just going to put them in there, okay? Nice and simple. See the lovely little layers you get in between the pork and the cabbage. Comes out really, really nicely. And you can do this with any other kinds of cabbage if you want.
And so if you've had a bit of happening with your cabbage, you could make meatballs and put those in the poaching cup.
Yeah. Tell you what I have discovered though is definitely cut the ends off, because one of my little parcels has come undone. And that's because the air has got inside it. So cut the ends off so that there's a little gap.
So you think you'll be able to wrap that one back up, kinda?
I'll figure it out. If not, it'll be the one I have. see.
Zita asks if the pork mince was raw.
Yes, yeah. Because this is going to cook it. Now you're gonna put this on and going to cook it for about 6 to 8 minutes, if that. It won't take long at all.
That one's going to be the special one. Fern can have that one.
Maddie says, how will you know that they are actually cooked? When they're cooked.
They're not going to take long because the mince is so thin, and it will firm up. Now they're quite fragile when you put them in. Once the mince is cooked, they'll firm up really, really well, and that will be your indication. But like I said, I always give you guys longer cooking times than what I would do, because I like my pork pink and so on, but I know not everybody likes that, so I will always cook it a little bit longer for you guys. So don't worry too much. So that 4 to 6 to 8 minutes poaching in that with the lid on, with it wants to be a good boil, will be ample.
Chris is saying, could you do this simmer thing with fish?
You could do, actually, yeah, you could. You'd have to use something with a bit of fat on it, so something like salmon or trout. It's a bit more robust, and will blend into like more of a smooth paste. You don't want to use a white fish like plates or anything like that, because it doesn't have the same right amount of fat in it to create a good fish mousse. That's essentially what you'd be making is a fish mousse. Okay, so there's my dressing. Okay.
What about prawns?
Yeah, you could use prawns. Prawns would be a good one, because if anyone's ever had prawn sesame toast from Chinese, the way they make that is basically a piece of sliced bread. They blend raw prawns in a food processor with some sesame seeds and some prawn sesame oil. Why are you looking at me like that for?
Can we make some?
Yes, we can. And then you cut them into triangles, and then you deep fry them, and that's all it is. So prawns would work very well, actually. Very, very good idea.
I was going to say prawns as well. Me and Zita are on the same wavelength.
Well, you are wonderful people. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so hopefully, guys, you're nearly ready to plate up. My sushi rice is ready. Now, I learned a little trick yesterday, and it says cooking sushi rice, put a little sheet of kombu in there. So that's what I've done. And apparently it gives it a real good flavour, so we're about to find out. Okay, there we go, this is poaching off nicely. And yeah, already now the cabbage has become so much firmer, the pork's become so much firmer, so I know that it's going to be absolutely fine. You know, and when you squeeze it, there's resistance. Before it would kind of really be really soft, but when you see the colour of it's already changed. It's sort of become a lot more. It's not so translucent anymore. When you cook that, you see the cling film's still on there, and it's kept that shape really nice. Okay, because you know aesthetics and all that. A couple of the cling films may come off, and that's fine. So don't worry too much. Okay, but I think we're almost about ready to plate up. So first things first.
Plan household are going to be hungry tonight. They said things have gone so badly here. If we order, would you deliver?
I haven't got enough stuff to do it. When lockdown over, I'll have the filans over. I think they've been at the forefront of my lives from nearly the beginning. So I will gladly have Team Filan over for dinner, and I'll make something of Filan's choosing. But it's not going to be in the shape of a Land Rover Defender. Okay, so with the rice, just gonna pop it into the bowls.
Chris asks, could you steam the parcels? I guess in like a bamboo steamer?
Yeah, you could steam them as well. Just make sure that the cling film you throw away afterwards, so obviously it's had the pork on it. You could steam them if you didn't want to poach them. Make them a little bit healthier, but I quite like it. Poached stuff and dashi.
Would it add extra flavour, poaching?
Yeah, you'd always give more flavour poaching something in a stock. No, that would be ideal. So, we are, guys, just coming up to the end of it now. These are cooked.
And is that stock finished with now, thrown away?
No, you can use the stock again. You could make soups with it. You can make all sorts with it. You could reduce it down. You could use it again to poach things off. Okay, so for you guys at home, what I'd probably do is I'd probably get a plate. But for me, I'm just going to take the cling film off with my fingers, like so. You see how much it's shriveled. I'm just going to place them into the bowl. One or two little parcels exploded, but that's fine.
Is that not the weird one?
No, the weird one's here. Thank you for saying they're weird, Emily.
Only one.
This one, the cling film came off this one as well, but I managed to keep together quite nicely. And this one as well, but that's fine.
Right, Chris said it's been really good seeing you take his idea and making it into a different version.
It's a good idea. I like this one. It's funny, whenever I do new things, I always like to think how I will adapt this into a way I can use at work to make it a bit more elegant.
I think Ollie might have forgotten to put his corn flour in the meat mixture because he's got some left.
What, some corn flour?
Yeah, Ollie says here's a bowl of corn flour. Why?
Because that should have gone in the beef mince, in the mince, and pork mince.
And Palodinsky says he knows what he's going to do for dinner.
Oh, good. Cling film there.
This one looks beautiful.
Yeah, I was going to say actually the Polish or Eastern European, this would be right up there street, pork and cabbage.
Now that looks amazing.
Here's the little one that went a little bit skew with. That's fine. Now you could always poach it in the whole sausage. It would take probably about 20 minutes to poach it whole, and then you could take it out and cut it. Let's take these little bits of cling film out of here. I've dropped in there. Lovely. Okay, then the dressing. I'm going to pour this over the rice and over that. And this dressing, if there's some left, will last about 3 weeks in your fridge. There's nothing really high risk in there that will go off. It's just a really simple dressing, and if you have any tempura, because that's really nice with that. And I think as well, what I'm going to do also is I'm going to put a little bit of the broth in with it as well, because that will just give a real nice bit of stock and always make it a little bit soupy. Look at that.
Is it possible to heat the dressing up, or is it a cold dressing?
It's a cold dressing, but if you want to warm it up, that's absolutely fine. And cool. Here we have it, guys. The pork and sesame mille feuille, or mille feuille nabe. There we are. I'm ready to feed my family. I hope you guys are going to be feeding them soon. So thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Maybe I'll go a little bit slower next week to help you guys out. Sorry. But it's, next week we're going to do a laksa. Okay, so I'll post the ingredients next week, as usual, Monday or Tuesday. Live will go up shortly. YouTube video will be up next week, and everything should be all good. And I'll post ingredients for the laksa. But thank you again for joining me. I really appreciate it. Any questions, please DM me. And also, please, like you guys do every week, let me see your creations, post them online, tag me, definitely tag Chef Brazical so then I can put it on my story. And I really appreciate you guys doing it. I really do. It's really kind of you. So thanks very much. I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye bye.